Are you curious to know what are the best matches The Rock had in the WWE? Do you want to find out which one was the most watched in the history of cable television? Have you ever wondered which confrontation really made him cross a milestone in the Stamford Federation? And can you only imagine the tremendous records that two of his most memorable battles have broken? You'll get the answers to all of these questions and more in this video. In addition, let me say that we will sometimes talk about the finishes of these matches. So for those who are afraid of being spoiled if you don't know them, I will tell you when I will be about to talk about it, and you can go to the next number. You are on the Wrestling Paradise. 7 matches of The Rock you need to see. Here we go! Let's start with the empty arena match between The Rock and Mankind on January 31, 1999 at Halftime Heat. This was a period when they were having a rivalry, with in particular a brutal I Quit match at the Royal Rumble a few days before, where Rocky had obliterated his rival with chair shots, and where he was the WWE Champion. It is a clash with an absolutely incredible concept, I think, and almost unique in history. The match took place in an arena with no fans, a very rare stipulation, and it is also important to know the context around this confrontation to appreciate it even more. In fact, this match was broadcast during the halftime of the Super Bowl, which is one of the most watched events in the world. You should know that the match that Rocky had against Mankind, thanks to this strategy of putting it in a time slot where a lot of people would be in front of their television and would perhaps skip the Stevie Wonder and Gloria Estefan's concert at the halftime of the Super Bowl, was seen by 11 million viewers, which makes it the most watched match in the history of cable television. Can you believe it? And this empty arena itself, I think it's great and incredibly creative. All along, The Rock was excellent. We could hear him making jokes, saying his catchphrases, going to commentary, picking up a phone and telling he was at the Smackdown Hotel but that Mankind was not available at that moment. All of this in the middle of the match. It was pure entertainment, with the whole itinerary where they went into the ring and then into the stands. Mankind will even do an incredible fall in the stairs, in the kitchen, in an office. It was really fun, spontaneous and funny. With in particular a moment when the Brahma Bull puts Mankind's head in an oven, asking him if he doesn't want to smell what The Rock is cooking, which is a nod to his famous catchphrase. I think it was an excellent showcase for WWE. It was entertaining, and it could make ordinary viewers want to go watch the other shows, considering the fact that they had also aired an iconic commercial on that day. For the record, in this match, the two wrestlers had to be careful not to bleed, because of how much it was going to be more scrutinized than ever, while a few days before, at the Rumble, their match was violent and bloody. I would also like to highlight the great performance of Vince McMahon on commentary of this match, who was well aware of its importance for his federation in terms of visibility, and who managed to sell his product like a god. It was really innovative to hear the superstars talking to each other thanks to the fact that there was no audience. And it was perhaps the culmination of the rivalry between Mankind and The Rock, who will form the Rock and Sock Connection team together a few months later. And about his opponent, the People's Champion said, "My rivalry with Mick Foley was special. I have a lot of admiration for everything he has achieved. The things Mick allowed me to do to him were incredible. What is certain is that both men can be proud of their performance and its important place in the history of WWE." The match between The Rock and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in 2002 is also special in the career of the Great One, according to me, and it is really excellent. Just the symbolism around this confrontation was incredible. Take a deep breath. We had Brock, who had just started in the main roster for a few months and who was undefeated and powerful. He was the next big thing, the chosen one to become the new big star of the company. And he faced the one who had been one of the Federation's household names for several years. We can say that this match represented a passing of the torch between two generations. And above all, it had a credibility and an aura that were incredible in my eyes. To see the two men training intensely in the pre-match promo, like two super athletes who absolutely wanted to win. To see this chemistry between these two intense wrestlers with impressive physiques fighting a fierce battle to be the best, after The Rock sprinted on the ramp to start the match immediately. All of this was great, and I must say that I am particularly impressed with the black ropes of the ring and the overall look of this battle. It screams credibility, And that's what I personally want to see, even more in a SummerSlam main event. If you haven't seen it, I can only highly recommend it to you. And if you don't want to know its outcome, I invite you to go to number 5 and to make sure to stay until the end of this video, because, believe me, the best is yet to come, with several awesome matches. But to come back to the one against Brock, it's important to highlight the fact that The Rock put Lesnar over and played a major role in his career by allowing him to win his first championship title against a big name. Whatever we think of The Rock, before favoring his acting career in Hollywood, he helped WWE to have a new big star at that time, in the person of Brock Lesnar, and that's to his credit. A very good match that The Rock had at SummerSlam was the one in 1998 against Triple H. An incredible ladder match for the Intercontinental title that Rocky held at that time. What really makes this clash special in my eyes in the People's Champion's career is the fact that, at that moment, he was still a superstar on the rise, a few months away from becoming WWE Champion for the first time, and in constant progression for months, especially with his catchphrases and his personality that were developing more and more. And what is interesting too is that Triple H was also in a similar position during the same period. The two men were dying to succeed and wanted to prove to the whole world that they had what it took to be the next WWE stars. And it was clearly seen in this confrontation, which was really brutal. They did not do a high-flying match, as a ladder match can often be, but they used it mainly to hit each other. It was much more a brawl, like for example, The Rock's people's elbow on a Triple H lying on the ladder. Rocky himself likes all these matches that he has been able to have in this phase of his career against Hunter. He thinks that they have always managed to tell a story, and that this strong ambition that they both had only led to good things. As a matter of fact, I am personally convinced that this match at SummerSlam 1998 against Triple H played a very important role in the legendary career of The Rock, and really made him cross a milestone. One of The Rock's matches that deserves to be in this ranking, in my eyes, is the one he had against Kurt Angle and The Undertaker at the Vengeance pay-per-view on July 21st, 2002. Let me tell you this, what a triple threat, in addition for the undisputed WWE title. The credibility was really off the charts in terms of casting, and it was a match that was great in terms of pace, suspense, combinations. Besides, we can say that we actually had 3 matches in one, since there were often moments between 2 of the 3 men. I also have in mind that moment at the beginning when Taker and Rocky were looking at each other, but when Angle demanded to have their attention, and also the ones when they stole each other's finishers. There were really several moments in this battle where every man came really close to win, and it was a treat to feel such intensity in the ring. It's not the most famous match of The Rock, but without a shadow of a doubt, it was one of the most interesting to watch. A special match of The Rock's career is obviously the one he had against his great rival, Stone Cold Steve Austin, at WrestleMania 17 on April 1st, 2001. You should know that this is the second of the 3 matches they had at the grandest stage of them all, which is very rare in history. The Texas Rattlesnake was clearly one of the biggest opponents of the People's Champion, and this rivalry is one of the most iconic of the glorious Attitude Era. There are several elements that make this clash legendary in the career of the Great One. Hang in there. First of all, it is historic, because this show was, at the time, hang on to your seat, the best-selling pay-per-view in the history of WWE. Also, because it was the return of WrestleMania in a large stadium. In this case, the Reliant Astrodome in Houston, in which almost 68,000 fans were there on that day. But also because Vince McMahon's company had just definitely won the war against the rival WCW Federation, and we can really say that it was the end of an era. In my opinion, we had everything we can expect from the main event of the most important show of the year. The 2 absolute superstars of WWE, at their peak, will compete for the title in a brutal and nasty war, full of false finishes with a huge suspense. Like Rocky said about Austin, we were trusting each other more and more as performers over time, and it made our matches better. It was really epic, with also the pre-match clip which has become iconic in the meantime, with the song My Way by Limp Bizkit, the beautiful black and gold graphics, and of course the finish which made history. If you're not aware of it and you don't want to know what it is, I'm waiting for you at number 2. As I was saying, it is historic, because Steve Austin turns heel by making a pact with the one who was his ultimate enemy before, Mr. McMahon, which allows him to win. And it is also the last match before The Rock goes to Hollywood and becomes more and more a part-timer. For all of these reasons, this match, which was perhaps the last of the most successful era of WWE, was truly legendary. One of The Rock's matches I like the most is of course the one he had against the legend Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18 on March 17, 2002. It was presented as the Icon vs Icon, the clash between two generations. The People's Champion was the WWE star at that time with Stone Cold Steve Austin, facing the immortal Hulkster, the one who had brought wrestling into pop culture in the 80s. Prepare yourself, because I'm not afraid to say that this is probably one of the matches where the atmosphere was the craziest in a Toronto Skydome, where the crowd was really totally involved in this match. Personally, this confrontation is everything I love about wrestling. Star power, two larger-than-life performers capable of playing with the audience and doing great selling of every single blow that made you live this match intensely. However, it was very simple technically. Even John Cena said that if we take the sound off, this match is to vomit. But precisely, it shows that the technique doesn't matter if we have two charismatic stars who manage to captivate a whole crowd. We can obviously think of that iconic moment at the beginning of the match when, in a simple stare down, with glances towards the audience and without any move, they managed to create a magical scene. It was really a dream match that was coming true, where I was particularly impressed by the big belt shots they gave to each other, by their selling and their intensity, by the atmosphere in the stadium. And it is the ultimate example of everything that is most important to me in wrestling, beyond the spots and the non-stop moves at full speed. I can't sum up the greatness of this 5-star match in my eyes better than The Rock himself, who said about it, and I quote, "All this atmosphere in the arena reminded me of how cool my job as a wrestler is. It was one of the best nights of my career because the crowd was 1000% invested in our match." And my number 1, the one that is personally my favorite match of The Rock, even if the choice was very hard, is the one he had against John Cena at WrestleMania 28 on April 1st, 2012. The famous one that was presented as once in a lifetime, but that was yet again the main event of the Showcase of the Immortals a year later. But the fact of the matter is, this match at WrestleMania 28 at the superb Sun Life Stadium in Miami, an open-air arena, which I always find epic personally, was nevertheless extraordinary for several reasons. It was The Rock against John Cena, two of the greatest superstars in WWE history. Two icons from two different eras, one of the greatest during the Attitude Era in the late 90s and early 2000s, against the poster boy of the company since 2005 at that time. A kind of wrestling equivalent of Michael Jordan against LeBron James in basketball. It was a very prestigious matchup with a huge aura, and above all, you should know that it had been announced a year before, just after the previous WrestleMania, and that they accomplished the unbelievable feat of building this match for a whole year, which is completely crazy. The two men were talking trash on Twitter. There were several notable promos where we felt an animosity that was very real at times, which Cena confessed afterwards. I'm thinking of a promo where the leader of the C Nation made fun of Rocky because he had taken notes for his promo on his wrist. It was really mind-blowing, I think, to have a match that we have been looking forward to for a whole year with two of the biggest superstars. And you won't believe it. With 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, this show became the best-selling one in WWE history in 2012. On a personal note, there are so many things that I loved about this match. Whether it was the clip just before it with the song We Are Young by Fun, the concerts of Machine Gun Kelly and Flo Rida at the time of the entrances that made me aware even more of the huge event that it was. The entrance of The Rock, which gave me chills with his charisma and the atmosphere in the stadium. Big shout out to the stage and also the giant palm trees around the ring. We can really say that everything that surrounded this match was worthy of this blockbuster. As for the confrontation itself, there was a huge suspense, a great chemistry between the two men, a jaw-dropping atmosphere with a Rocky who was in great shape and also in his hometown, Miami. It was iconic and it made me dream. And I must talk about the finish, which is crazy too. So, of course, if you don't know it and don't want to be spoiled, we'll meet right after in the conclusion of the video. This finale, where Cena believes he's going to win by mocking the people's elbow in a moment of arrogance, but gets caught by a fatal rock bottom right after, was incredibly well written. A real life lesson, and an image right after of Cena sitting on the ramp, which was symbolically insane. And it brilliantly opened the door for Cena's revenge a year later, who would have learned from this mistake that haunted him. This match was great, and behind the scenes, Mr. You Can See Me will offer a bottle of white lightning to his rival. And in the end, they will be good friends, after having offered us a build-up and a match that were really memorable. Wasn't that incredible? Can you believe the several records that some of The Rock's matches broke? Do you realize how many classics the People's Champion had? And that the WrestleMania 28 clash against John Cena was announced a year before. Of course, as you could see, all of these are purely subjective choices, and it was obviously heartbreaking not to put some other matches in it. I'm thinking, for example, of the Iron Man match against Triple H at Judgment Day in 2000, or the one against CM Punk at the Royal Rumble 2013. So if you want more in a new video, say it in the comments, it will be with great pleasure, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. We can say that this topic raises a lot of questions. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and I invite you to stay in the paradise of wrestling to look at some other ones. See you right away.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. What?